Breaking. Britain just cracked wide open. 500,000 people pouring into the streets, a Prime Minister cornered by mounting scandal, and the heart of it all, a government programme described as humanitarian, but exposed today as a full-scale betrayal of veterans, taxpayers and the public trust itself. This is a story they tried to bury. If you want the truth they don't want you to see, hit subscribe right now. What I'm about to reveal will change how you see everything. This is not speculation, not opinion. This is documented proof of corruption at the highest levels of the British government. It began quietly in early 2024. The Ministry of Housing launched a Veterans and Resilience Housing Initiative. Sounds noble. A rescue plan. A promise. We prioritise those who served. But look closer. 5 major property developers received the sole rights to the contracts. All 5 had recently donated massive sums to the ruling party's campaign. One firm, Crestbourne Developments Limited, gave $3.2 million in donations. Weeks later, they were awarded a $780 million housing contract. The total programme, $3.1 billion, and now it is under criminal investigation, reported by multiple media outlets. But here's where it gets darker. Much darker. The contracts weren't split for competitive bidding. Leaked documents show that Crestbourne executives helped write the tender requirements. Criteria drafted in backroom meetings. Clauses in a 450-page document guaranteed profit margins of up to 45%. No open competition, no oversight committees, just handshakes and backdated legal amendments. One whistleblower, a procurement officer inside the Department for Housing and Communities, speaking on condition of anonymity, revealed that internal objections were raised. We flagged this as rigged from the start, they told investigative journalists. Those who asked questions were moved sideways. 3 senior civil servants who refused to sign off on the contracts were reassigned or forced into early retirement within 6 weeks. The paper trail is damning. Emails between Crestbourne's CEO Michael Drayson and senior officials in the Ministry of Housing show meetings scheduled in private residences, encrypted messaging apps, burner phones. The behaviour wasn't just unethical, it was criminal. Over 18,000 social homes were reallocated. Homes belonging to pensioners, single-parent families, even former servicemen. People who built this country. People who served, people who believed in the system. Meet John Harrison, age 69, ex-Royal Navy submarine officer, lost hearing in both ears defending Britain's waters. 2 months ago, he got a letter, reallocation order. His council flat, modified for his disability, owned and adapted by veterans' charities, was being requisitioned to house corporate-designated resilience housing. No consultation, no appeal, 30-day eviction notice. Today, John Harrison sleeps in his car outside the home they took from him. He told reporters, "I gave my ears for this country. Now I sleep in my car while they house people who arrived last week in designer flats." And he's not alone. Thousands of ex-servicemen, pensioners, disabled citizens were removed from waiting lists, doors locked, names erased. Eviction letters stamped with government seals and delivered by private bailiffs disguised as security contractors. Margaret Lewis, 75, widow of a Vietnam-era commando, removed from her London flat of 25 years, now stays with her daughter's family, belongings in storage she cannot afford. Major Richard Cole, Gulf War veteran with PTSD, evicted from supported housing in Liverpool. He's been missing for 3 weeks. His family fears the worst. Meanwhile, across southern England and the Midlands, 57 luxury hotel complexes now house more than 45,000 designated resilience residents under the same scheme. All taxpayer-funded, buffet breakfast, spa access, concierge service. Some hotels charging the government up to £175 per person per night, nearly 3 times standard council housing nightly cost. Outside, pensioners in cars, veterans on benches, British citizens who defended their country now invisible in their own streets. The cost isn't just financial, it is moral. It is a betrayal so deep that it fractures the very foundation of the social contract. Then everything changed. One Tuesday evening in mid-June, a whistleblower uploaded 312 pages of confidential ministry files to multiple platforms. Bank transfers traced to offshore shell companies. Referral fees disguised as consulting services. Encrypted message logs showing coordination between Crestbourne executives and senior Downing Street advisors. One message dated 21st April reads, "Package approved, PM on board, proceed to phase 2. Another, from a ministry official to a Crestbourne director, "Veteran housing stock identified, low political risk, proceed." They actually wrote those words. Within hours, the files were all over the internet, downloaded millions of times. Journalists, NGOs, opposition researchers, ordinary citizens began combing through every page, building cases, tracing payments, mapping conflicts of interest. By dawn, the streets were full. London, Manchester, Birmingham, Leeds, Glasgow, Cardiff. This was massive, spontaneous. No political party told them where to go. This was public fury, raw and unfiltered. Flares lit the Thames embankment. Gates at Downing Street were scaled. "Homes for Britain, not for deals," chanted the crowds. Veterans in wheelchairs blocked Whitehall. Pensioners arm in arm outside Parliament. On one banner appeared John Harrison's face beside the Crestbourne logo. Who sold Britain? Over 620 arrests in 3 nights. Dozens of officers injured. But the chants didn't stop. They grew louder. Night 2 saw 60 cities across the UK with active protests. Inside number 10, staff scrambled, curtains closed, lights dimmed, no public appearances. The Prime Minister's schedule cancelled, set to 0 until further notice. This wasn't politics as usual. This was a constitutional meltdown in real time. And then the government did something shocking. On the 3rd night of unrest, the Ministry of Housing issued a covert order. Delete all records connected to Crestbourne. Emails, server logs, contract databases. By 03:42 a.m, 14,800 records erased in 5 minutes. A former IT officer recorded the screen capture before deletion, uploading the file to a secure server abroad. Forensic analysts later confirmed deletion commands executed from Downing Street terminals with highest security clearance. This was no rogue act. This was orchestrated destruction of evidence. The Prime Minister's office blamed foreign interference. Russia was named, China mentioned. But the evidence says otherwise. The commands came from authenticated government accounts right after the whistleblow files went viral, timed perfectly. Opposition MPs demanded an emergency parliamentary session. The ruling party's allies blocked a true investigation in committee, citing urgent national security concerns. Translation: panic. Pure panic. A leaked text from a senior advisor to a cabinet minister read, "If we go down, we take the ministry with us. Scorched earth." Another, "Destroy everything. Legal can't defend what doesn't exist." The cover-up was worse than the crime, and everyone could see it. Within 48 hours, emergency powers were granted to police, curfews imposed in London, Manchester and Leeds. Social media posts about Downing Street flagged as potential unrest. Accounts were suspended without explanation. Homes of protest organisers were raided before dawn. Dozens of veterans were arrested under the Public Order Act for conspiracy to incite disorder, including John Harrison. At 05:17 a.m, live on camera, police dragged the one-legged ex-submarine officer from his car. News helicopters captured it. His pleading, officers shouting, the indignity broadcast to millions. The government called it restoring order. The people called it war. War on dissent. War on the truth. War on citizens it pledged to protect. By nightfall, tear gas filled Trafalgar Square. Drone footage showed police lines buckling under the sheer volume of bodies. The Union flag above Parliament hung limp in the smoke. But something changed. The violence, chaotic at first, began to fade. Not because of police tactics, but because veterans at the front of the crowds urged calm. "Don't give them an excuse," one shouted through a megaphone. "Our weapon is truth. Stay peaceful. Stay together." Inside Parliament, the veneer cracked. In an emergency debate, MPs shouted across the chamber, "Where's the Prime Minister? Why won't he answer? What is he hiding?" He finally entered under police escort, flanked by 6 officers. Face pale, jaw tight, opposition benches erupted. "Resign, resign, answer for your crimes." In the gallery, veterans stood in silence. Then one raised his prosthetic leg above his head. Cameras flashed. The image went viral within minutes. The room froze. Even the Prime Minister's supporters looked shaken. The symbolism, too powerful, too damning. Then came the vote of no confidence, 299 for Towning, 254 against. It failed, but barely. 5 members of his own party voted against him. Within hours, 5 ministers resigned: Housing Secretary, Veterans Minister, 2 junior ministers, senior advisor. The markets crashed overnight. The pound dropped 4% in Asian trading. Downing Street went dark. Literally, lights off, no public statements. But something else happened. Across the country, protests stopped. Not because they were defeated, but because someone proposed silence for 69 seconds, one for each year of John Harrison's life. The crowds went silent, hundreds of thousands. Not a sound, then a whisper, "For Britain!" And the chant began again, softer, unified, unstoppable, not angry, mournful, determined. Flowers appeared in the streets, Union Jacks placed beside sleeping bags of displaced veterans. Messages sprouted. We remember, we don't forget. It wasn't about party politics anymore. It was about identity. It was about the soul of a nation, about whether Britain stands for anything beyond profit margins and looming backroom deals. Vigils held outside veterans' hospitals, pensioners invited into strangers' homes, crowdfunders for displaced servicemen raised millions in 2 days. Britain was angry. But more than that, Britain was awake. Tonight, this isn't just one man's fall. It's a country waking up from decades of comfortable sleep, waking up to realise the contract was broken. The promises were lies. The system was rigged. From submarine veterans to widows in council flats, the message is the same. Enough, no more, not one more home taken, not one more betrayal. The $3.1 billion scandal may end one career. It may topple one government, but it has already rewritten British history. It has reminded people what they are, what they stand for, what they will not tolerate. Because once a nation sees the truth, really sees it in leaked files, in eviction notices, in veterans sleeping in cars, it cannot unsee it. It cannot go back to pretending. The scales have fallen. These protests aren't dying. They are spreading. City to city, street to street, voice to voice, generation to generation. This is the moment children will learn about in schools. The moment Britain said, no, this isn't collapse. It's correction. Painful, necessary, inevitable. And as the smoke clears over Westminster, one line remains on every placard, every banner, every wall. We are Britain, and we remember. This story is far from over. The next hearing is in 48 hours. Criminal investigations expanding, more whistleblowers coming forward, more revelations waiting. If you want to see what happens next, subscribe and turn on notifications. Share this with someone who needs to know the truth. Share it with someone who still believes the system works. Share it with someone who's given up hope. Because the people who tried to hide this are counting on you looking away. They're counting on fatigue, on distraction, on the next news cycle, burying this under celebrity gossip and sports scores. Don't give them that power. Every view is a vote. Every share is a statement. Every subscription tells them, we're watching, we're remembering, we're not going away. The next chapter starts now, and this time the people are writing it.